I know I look crazy. I'm trying to solve a murder. Suspicious. Suspicious. Why are you saying that you just got back? We don't need to know where you've been. And then someone just screams from behind him. Why don't you just die? Hello everyone and good morning. I have an emergency broadcast. I just found out that a book exists and I simply cannot believe it. I literally know nothing. I know the author, plural, that's it. Maybe the genre. Okay. Other than that, we're going into this together. Okay. I'm in a bit of a reading slump. I keep picking up books, putting them down. So I usually try to get out of that with some kind of thriller, a book that you might find at an airport bookstore, for example, Dan Brown. Dan Brown always gets me out of those. So when I saw this, I was like, is this divine intervention? Was I sent this book from a higher power? Potentially. And we're gonna learn about it together. So let me tell you what I know and see if you are as blown away by this as I am. This is a book that I believe, allegedly, all of this is alleged because I haven't actually looked this up. This is a book that is co-written by the author of stories like The Notebook. The name Nicholas Sparks ring a bell. Okay, this guy, right? This is his portfolio. He is working with this guy, M. Night Shyamalan. I grew up with Signs. I'm going to be honest, of the two, I'm much more well-versed in this world. Signs is my life. I can quote it right now. You know the meme where it's like, oh great, I have enough time to watch Twilight. And you're like, but there's no TV. And you're like, I can watch it in my head. That's me with Signs. I constantly am referencing The Village, which is a rabbit hole we can go down because maybe that was completely plagiarized. Crazy. Lady in the Water, things like that. I appreciate his craft. Okay, obviously The Sixth Sense. I don't know why I keep forgetting The Sixth Sense. Look, I came to you so scatterbrained. I literally, my hair. As I try to get myself settled, I have loved M. Night Shyamalan, ironically or unironically, for years. But someone else that I have loved for years is the sponsor of this video, a company that has never let me down, and that is Squarespace. As you know them, they are a wonderful place to host any kind of online presence. I use it for a travel vlog, but because of their comment sections, linking your social media accounts, email lists, they have monetization features for a shop, etc. You can do pretty much whatever you want with the help of Squarespace. They have free, easy to use templates that make your website look really professional. If you want to use it for some kind of portfolio or landing page or thing like that for your business, it's just really wonderful and simple to use. Their analytics section is really helpful for figuring out how people are looking at your site, how they're finding it, things like that. So I will have a link in the description box. Right now you can go to squarespace.com, play with it for free, see how you like it. And then when you're ready to launch, you can go to squarespace.com/caricanread to get 10% off of your first website or domain. Highly recommend. I know that they won't let me down. Will M. Night? That is the question we're going to answer. So let's see. The genre, I believe they are working on a supernatural romance. I don't know if they know what that means in my head. I feel like we're working with, I don't know. So that's what going into it. I have it already downloaded. I'm ready to go. Let's find out together what this book is about. The book is titled Remain. It was co-written by Nicholas Sparks and M. Night Shyamalan, and it is going to be There is a God. It's going to be adapted into a film directed by, surprise, Shyamalan. It is scheduled to release in 2026. I don't want to read the AI overview. I'm reading Goodreads. Hold on. Okay, wait. It's got like a high rating. What's going on? Okay, there's a lot of text. This came out in October. It already has about 15,000 ratings, and it's sitting at a 3.88, which is notoriously my sweet spot. It's not overhyped. I feel like people are being reasonable with it, and it's still sitting at a 3.8. Here we go. Wait. Oh my God, there's so much going on. Okay, this is a one-of-a-kind novel that grapples with the supernatural mysteries of life, death, and human connection. An unprecedented collaboration between the globally best-selling author of love stories like The Notebook and renowned writer and director of blockbuster thrillers like The Sixth Sense. Capital letters, caps lock. #1 New York Times bestseller. Coming soon as a major motion picture directed by M. Night Shyamalan, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Phoebe Dynevor. I've never said her name out loud before. Phoebe of Bridgerton fame. What's going on? Okay, genres include romance, fiction, mystery, thriller, paranormal, audiobook, fantasy. Goodreads, get your shit together. I don't trust you with a damn thing. Let me read to you what it's about, okay? When New York architect Tate Donovan arrives in Cape Cod to design his best friend's summer home, he's hoping to make a fresh start. Recently discharged from an upscale psychiatric facility where he was treated for acute depression, he's still wrestling with the pain of losing his beloved sister. Sylvia's deathbed revelation that she can see spirits who are still tethered to the living world, a gift that runs in their family, sits uneasily with Tate, who struggles to believe in more than what reason can explain. But when he takes up residence at a historic bed and breakfast on the Cape, he encounters a beautiful young woman named Wren. That goddamn name, okay? Everybody has that name in books nowadays. Anyway, sorry. Will challenge every assumption he has about his logical and controlled world. Tate and Wren find themselves forging an immediate connection, one that neither has ever experienced before. But Tate gradually discovers that below the surface of Wren's idyllic small-town life, hatred, jealousy, and greed are festering, threatening their fragile relationship just as it begins to blossom. Tate realizes that in order to free Wren from an increasingly desperate fate, he will need to unearth the truth about her past before time runs out, a quest that will make him doubt whether we can ever believe the stories we tell about ourselves and the laws that govern our existence. Love, while transformative, can sometimes be frightening. A story about the power of transcendent emotion. Remain asks us all, can love set us free, not only from our greatest sorrows, but even from the boundaries of life and death? I'm gonna be honest, let me look up, this is crazy, looking up Nicholas Sparks, I'm so sorry. I don't read. Oh my God, oh duh. He wrote The Notebook, yes, A Walk to Remember, Jesus, Dear John, okay. I've never read his work though. I've only seen the films. Crazy stuff. He's from Nebraska. He wrote The Notebook in 6 months when he was 28 years old. Okay. All right, let's dive in. I feel like this is gonna be, I don't know. I'm interested to see in what is the balance. Also, how did they co-write this? What do you mean you co-wrote this with M. Night Shyamalan? Wait, what? What? We got to talk more before we dive in. So apparently, this is according to Wikipedia, the two creatives had almost worked together decades earlier after Sparks suggested that Shyamalan be approached to rewrite the screenplay. Wait. M. Night Shyamalan was supposed to write the screenplay for The Notebook, but instead he declined and he did The Sixth Sense. We almost had an M. Night Shyamalan directed version of The Notebook, written and directed. What world could we have lived in? Okay, so anyway, then in 2023, flash forward 30 some years later, they meet to brainstorm ideas for a collaboration that would suit their respective cinematic and literary mediums. And they proceeded with Shyamalan's pitch and devised characters. So Shyamalan wrote a screenplay he wanted to direct based on the story they discussed. Sparks got the script in October and then wrote the novel the way it should be told in a novel. Sparks finished that book in 4 months. Shortly after printing his script, Shyamalan had lunch with Jake Gyllenhaal and bada bing bada boom. It's gonna be filmed on film, 35mm in Rhode Island. Oh my God, whoever wrote this Wikipedia page knows so much. Oh my God. And it's scheduled to be theatrically released by Warner Brothers October 23rd, 2026. What? I'm still stuck at The Notebook being written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Anyway, let me just read you the very opening lines. I'll read you the first paragraph and we'll dive in. It's 350 pages. I think I'll just finish it today with you. Genuinely have no idea what. But here we go with chapter 1. Cape Cod in May stirs hope in the hearts of the previously frozen New Yorkers, its verdant lawns and ocean breezes holding the promise of summer days just around the corner. As I rolled down the window of my car, breathing in the scent of growing things, I marveled at how distant the chilly gray skies and rain-flooded gutters of city life felt. Here, at least, winter had long since retreated, and the dream of slower, sun-drenched days felt close enough to touch. Okay, why am I getting the summer I turned pretty from this? In we go. I'm gonna take a break because I'm gonna eat my lunch, mentally prepare. I might go out and get a cup of coffee. This is gonna be full spoilers. I'm gonna be reading this with you. So if you don't want that, you want to read it yourself, pause now. Check it out. I can't believe what's happening. In I go to Remain, co-written by Nicholas Sparks and M. Night Shyamalan. And just like that, we're back. Still frazzled, slightly more caffeinated. I'm already on, I think, page 50. I think I'm almost 20% of the way through. Nicholas Sparks, even though I've never read anything he's written, he writes in that way that's just very descriptive in terms of like what has actually happened in the plot. Pretty much actually zero things have happened in this book so far, but we get like an entire page describing the layout of somebody's living room kind of thing. So I can understand why his work so easily becomes films, is because it's so visual immediately. How am I going to do this? I'm going to introduce you to our characters as we know them thus far, starting with our main character, our Jake Gyllenhaal. His name is Tate. He is a 38-year-old cynical New Yorker, okay? He has, according to his best friend, who we will also meet in a moment, he has rich and wacky parents who messed him up. He is like trust fund baby, grew up on Fifth Avenue with a view of Central Park. He was tutored by the best tutors until he was sent off to boarding school. He is 38 years old and he has never done laundry in his life, even though he went to Yale. So like he was living somewhere without, anyway, whatever. You know, I'm not gonna, all right. That's Tate. Did I mention that he drives an Aston Martin? Yes, he is a architect, even though daddy wanted him to go into business. He's just inheriting the business from his great-great-grandfather to his grandfather to his dad to him. His mother is some like Romanian model, and the only reason they got married is because that was a good deal for both of them. And it seems like none of them wanted kids, or they only had kids because that's like what you're supposed to do. Growing up on the Upper East Side. I mean, we will obviously be learning more about Tate, but that's basically our guy. He, as we know, just had a very depressive episode that sent him into the psychiatric hospital, and because of that he quit his firm that he founded, his architectural firm, sold it off to the other founder. So now he's free, and it's really scary, even though he does have a huge chunk of like ownership over whatever his grandparents started, and he apparently doesn't know anything about that business except that he gets monthly checks. So I mean, rough for him, right? Anyway, who is his best friend? Who is the one who has kept him humble? Oscar, who is introduced to us as a kid with immigrant parents who opened a deli in Boston. We don't know where they've immigrated from for a while until it is revealed that Oscar, get a mental image of an Oscar in your head. Oscar's from India. He is married to Lorena, who is a, quote, Italian-American dynamo. And he has 5 kids. When he graduated from NYU, he bought the copyrights or something to all of these sports, like NHL, NFL, so that his entire business is making retro jerseys for modern players. So you could buy like your favorite player's jersey, but it looks like it's from the 1960s. Kind of cool. He sold that company for about $1 billion. So now he is building a summer home with his wife for his 5 children. He met Tate at boarding school. He was a scholarship student, if you're wondering. And yeah, so basically Tate considers Oscar's family his foster family, because they're the only people who's ever loved him, except for his sister, Sylvia. Let's meet Sylvia. Sylvia is 5 years older than him, died about a year ago, but she was cool with it. She's been sick her whole life. She had some kind of virus when she was a kid that weakened her heart. So she has known it's going to be a good but a short life. And she's not worried because she believes there is something good after. And this is also going to come into play. Okay, so I'm going to read you a quote from the book, which says, "Unlike me, Tate, she believed in God and the mysteries of the unknown, including the existence of ghosts in the afterlife. I wouldn't understand how deep those beliefs ran until much later." And this is when we get a little flashback into the sister, right? We understand that his sister's death is the trigger for this depression, which is sending him into the psych ward, which is having his life turned upside down. He leaves his firm, etc. Oscar is giving him this job of building the summer home, partially because his friend is an architect, but partially because he realizes like his friend needs something to do. His friend needs to be kept busy. So let's give Tate an unlimited budget to build our house. They want 12 bedrooms, by the way, for like guests. I don't know, man. Okay. I'm also going to have to pull up the section because it's one of those things where I know it's going to come into play. We get the flashback of one of the last conversations he had with Sylvia, right? She has been in the hospital for a long time, turning gray with organ failure, not doing good. Okay. They're having a chat and she says that she has 3 messages for him. But before she gets to those, she needs to tell him something else, which is her parents, mom and dad, came to see her today, which is surprising because they aren't very loving, but also they died like over 10 years ago. Their private jet just went into the ocean. So what do you mean? Sylvia explains that she has seen ghosts her whole life. So she's like, yeah, you know how I always used to sit and look out the window and like watch the people in Central Park? Some of them were dead. So she sees ghosts. She lets us know that there are some different kinds. We have some that are visitors. They can come and go as they please, such as mom and dad, and others are stuck. They can't move on. And because of that, if they stay here too long, if they're stuck too long, all of their goodness goes away and they're stuck with just the negative energy. So they're like an evil ghost. Okay. And when she sees ghosts, she kind of sees them. Some of them look totally real, as like real people like you and me. And then they just go poof. And she's like, oh, that was a ghost. Okay. But other times they show up as like little shadows, little flickers in her peripheral vision. And you get this like kind of the hair raising on the back of your neck and you just need to turn to look at them. Which is really weird because in present day, our boy Tate has been experiencing that exact thing. He apparently had every test ever known to man because he's super rich. He can afford to do anything. Every kind of test, all the doctors are like, we don't know. We don't think it's your depression. It could just be stress because your sister died. Who knows? But just know that ever since Sylvia passed on, he's been seeing flickers. Okay? But let me tell you what Sylvia does, because I know this is going to come into play. So I'm just going to read it to you because I can't wait to see this on screen. Okay. Apparently, seeing ghosts is a thing in the family. Sylvia told her mom, and her mom was like, yeah, that's normal. So anyway, then she pauses and she says, I want you to do something for me, and please try to pretend it's a reasonable request. Don't ask any questions. When I nodded, she lifted a papery hand and waved me closer. Lean forward and open your mouth, she instructed. This is crazy, I told myself, but I did as I was asked. She blew into my mouth, her breath as light as a feather. Oddly, it didn't smell sickly at all. If anything, I thought I detected a licorice-like scent, gone as quickly as it registered. Thank you, she whispered, collapsing even farther into her pillows. That's weird. Also, she randomly is like, by the way, Tate, you're gonna fall in love, and when you do, it's gonna change your life forever. There's that. That's what we're working with. In terms of what has happened in the actual plot of this book so far, we meet Oscar. They have a little chat about what they want for the house, and then he's gonna go check in to the place that he finally found that he could get a room in, because there's this music festival happening for Memorial Day weekend at the end of the month, because it's May, and so all the rooms are booked out in this tiny town. So he drives off to check in at his bed and breakfast. He arrives, he meets Louise and Reese, a married couple that are the house and groundkeepers, gets a little tour of the house. We meet another character named Polly, his cat. She's an indoor cat. She is a white and gray tabby with an M on her head, named after the Rocky character, Polly, because she looks like him. Anyway, he didn't call ahead to check if there was a pet policy at the B&B. Luis is like, cat? But he says, oh, don't worry, she's a good cat. She will not scratch your furniture. But in his head, he's like, she will absolutely scratch the furniture. So, Tate, you're a grown man. Get it together. And I think this is where chapter 5, chapter 6 finally is when we start to get a hint of this supernatural, because Louise and Reese are weirdly cagey about who owns the bed and breakfast. Apparently it's like not a really active place, but whoever is the owner of like the investment firm, I guess, that owns this big Victorian house, his name is Mr. Aldrich. It seems like he's kind of hands off and weird. And so Louise is like, just make sure you don't tell Mr. Aldrich about Polly and all of this stuff. Weird, spooky character. Which is also strange, because just the chapter before, we meet our other character, Wren. This is the one chapter we've had so far that is not in Tate's POV. It's by a nameless woman who I can only assume is Wren. We don't know much about her. We just know that she is preparing to welcome a new guest that is checking into her bed and breakfast. Do you see what's happening here? Is she a ghost that thinks that she's still alive, that's haunting the bed and breakfast? But she's walking around town running her errands. She goes to the farmer's market. It seems like people can see her, but knowing M. Night Shyamalan, remember, this story was cooked up primarily by him first. So I'm just immediately like going through his little list of things he likes to play with. Things we know about Wren. She drinks tea with sugar. She has a routine that she likes to stick to. She owns a bed and breakfast. She was raised by her grandma Joyce, who was a magnetic, weird, wild, wacky woman that we love very much. She passed away 3 years ago. Business was difficult for Wren during COVID, especially because she runs a bed and breakfast. This small town basically runs off of summer tourism. It was really rough for them, but they made it through. She was a little bit of a wild child. She liked to play pranks, but it's a small town, so she always got caught. And then at the farmer's market, she runs into two people, a couple named Dax and Tessa. She tries to hide from them because we don't know why, but there's some kind of beef there with Dax and Tessa. So just keep that in mind. Also, like, again, just thinking of the weird things that M. Night Shyamalan does, I have to wonder whether the town called Hetherington is in some kind of time loop, or is it just New England? Because the names of these people, she's listing off all the people that she's like walking to the farmer's market and she sees everybody and she's telling us who she sees. Names including Steve, Kenny, Doc, Clayton, Ethel, Marge, Ralph, Lucille? I don't know. Anyway, that is where I leave you. He has checked into this bed and breakfast that may be run by Mr. Aldrich, or it might be run by Wren. Who knows? He took a little nap. He let Polly out of her cage to enjoy his new room. Took a nap and he woke up and he hears someone humming Bruno Mars in the kitchen. So he goes to investigate. And that is where we are. So I will continue reading, but welcome to Remain. I am at 14%. In we go. Okay, updates. In we go with the creepy stuff. As I mentioned, Tate wakes up from his nap, hears someone in the kitchen humming Bruno Mars. So he decides to take a look. He calls for Louise. He thought that they already left. Once he gets to the kitchen and turns on the light, no one is there. He decides to take that as his cue to like go out, do some grocery shopping, come home. Because this is a bed and breakfast, but it's essentially just like a boarding house. Like he does all of the cooking and cleaning. I think Louise is supposed to come like twice a week to like dust or something. So he's on his own in this house. When we got a tour of the house, the bathroom situation is a little strange. Everybody has their private bathroom, but if you want to use the tub, there's only one bathroom that has a tub, so that one is like shared if anyone else is there. And that's the only door that opens out into the hallway instead of in. And I don't know why that's mentioned, but you know it's gonna come up. Okay, it's also got really creaky hinges. So keep that in mind. He has his dinner, does whatever, goes to sleep, has a horrific nightmare. As a pet owner myself, well, Louis lives in America now, but I have always had pets growing up. I understand how terrifying this nightmare was. He had a dream that Polly was like being lured into that creepy bathroom by some evil feeling spirit. And Polly isn't listening to Tate. Tate is screaming like, Polly, get away from it, get away from it. Polly looks like really freaked out by it. Then all of a sudden, right when it seems like whatever that evil spirit is gonna snatch Polly up, Polly backs down. Seems curious, unafraid. He kind of gets up, takes another step closer to the door to be like, hey ghost, when the door slams in Polly's face. I don't know, man. When I have dreams, I've had many a dream about my pets being like kidnapped or trapped somewhere. It's the worst kind of nightmare. So I understand why Tate wakes up rather shaken. He's got a headache, pops some ibuprofen or whatever, heads down to make his coffee, realizes he forgot his phone, goes back into his room, and he has a text from his brother-in-law. So I didn't mention this, but Sylvia was married to a guy named Mike. Seems like an amazing guy. Tate said he was and he still is just like a good, amazing dude. Okay, so we love Mike in this house. Mike sent him a text, which is weird because Tate hasn't spoken to Mike since the funeral, because pretty soon after that, he shut down and then was sent to a psychiatric hospital. So he opens up the text from Mike and sees that there's a video attached. So instead of reading the text, he plays the video and his sister's face takes up his whole iPhone screen. He immediately just like shuts down, has to put the phone down, take a breather. He's like, what the fuck is happening? And so I will read to you what is going on. So he picks up his phone again to read the text first. I feel like there was some context missing, okay? So Mike is basically like, hey, so this is from Sylvia. She asked me to send this to you 3 months after she passed. Rewind when she said that she had 3 messages for Tate. And then she was like, by the way, I can see ghosts. This is the first message, okay? But Mike was like, hey, you were in the hospital, didn't think you wanted to get a video of your sister, so I waited until you were out, then I gave you a few days to like cook, and now here it is. So she told me that you'd be expecting it. I don't know what's going on. I'm just the messenger. So miss you, bud. He said, hope you're doing well. Let's grab coffee when you get back to the city. So let's see what the first message from Sylvia is. It's like a selfie style video, like a FaceTime chat, clearly taken in the hospital. He can hear all the machines in the background whirring away. This is what Sylvia says. And I haven't read this yet. So, hi Tate. I know you're surprised to hear from me, but seeing you these last few days made me realize I wasn't ready for our conversations to end just yet. I'm afraid that now that I'm gone, you'll withdraw even further into solitude. But loneliness, over time, is like an acid that eats away at you. By the time you receive this, I'll be gone, and I fear that you'll be living on autopilot, feeling disconnected from the world. So I want you to do something for me. Sometime soon, maybe today, maybe later this week, I want you to strike up a conversation with a stranger, and as silly as it may sound, I want you to be open to the idea that the encounter happened for a reason. Every human interaction, after all, is seeded with infinite potential. You probably recall I met Mike at my friend's coffee shop, but this conversation could have just as easily arisen at a gym, the aisle of a grocery store. Sometimes the most mundane interactions create ripple effects downstream that we only decipher later. I know your first instinct will be to ignore my request. You may not think you need anyone, but I promise you, there are people out there who need you, and being needed is often the most rewarding experiences of all. Please, Tate, trust me on this. I'm kind of tired of, isn't A Walk to Remember similar? Is The Notebook, is Dear John similar? Nicholas Sparks loves a dramatic death. I feel like in at least one of his books, it's all about like the person who has passed on is like demanding things of the person who is still there. This is also like, what was it? Me Before You. This is a cliche of, people sending their loved ones on like these missions that change their lives after they've passed on, So, okay, a little hokey, a formula I've seen before, but I wonder what stranger he's going to strike up a conversation with, and if that stranger will be alive. And I think our answer comes pretty quickly because he like gathers himself, right? He just heard his sister's voice for the first time in a year, and it's rough. So he watches the video a couple more times, gathers himself, heads towards the kitchen once again to finish his whole breakfast that he was supposed to be having. When he walks by the living room and has to do a double take, because why is there a woman in his home doing yoga? He's standing there like, what the hell? She's like doing all of her stuff. And he's just like in the doorway like, thinking, did Luis forget to tell me? Like, I'm supposed to be alone in this house. Did she forget to tell me that there's a guest? Blah, 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 blah. When this girl who looks to be late 20s, long dark hair, in like a beautiful thick ponytail, when she finally realizes she's being watched, and instead of being like, she's just like, oh, hey, good morning. As if she expected him. She's like, sorry, I'm almost done. I didn't think that you'd be up this early. I'll finish this up and move out of your way. Once again, as if this isn't weird that there is a strange man in her home. But then she kind of explains herself. She's like, I'm sorry that I wasn't there to help you check in. Like, I must have been taking a nap, which is weird because when we saw her in that one chapter, she had like gone to the farmer's market, was like, seemed to be on top of things, like fully ready to greet her guests. She was like, I'm right on time getting home to like set everything up. Why would she take a nap? Anyway, bizarre. When she sees Polly, she's like, oh my God, cute cat. Love that. By the way, holding this conversation, still doing yoga. She is in downward dog talking to him upside down, being like, have you ever tried yoga? It's great. Anyway, she sees Polly and she's like, oh, cat. Great. Guys with cats, always a green flag. You'll never meet a serial killer with a cat. And our poor guy Tate is just like, She says, and I quote, it's because they're more independent and harder to control than dogs. Serial killers are all about control. And Tate is like, is that so? And finally he's like, I'm sorry, but can I ask you like why are you in my house? That is when she decides to get up from downward dog. She comes closer to him, and instead of answering his question, she's just like, you've been crying. What's up? This girl is odd. We are definitely getting like, what is it? Manic pixie dream girl. That's how it's written. That's where we're going with this. And she just like keeps going off. Like, what happened? Why are you crying? You can tell me. She said, sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers. I always find myself spilling my guts to people in a coffee shop, in the grocery store, at the gym. And Tate is like, where did I hear that exact series of words just a second ago? My sister. Remember, she literally was like, I met Mike in a coffee shop, but I could have met him in a gym or a grocery store. Let's talk to strangers. They have a little heart to heart. He tells her all about his sister. He basically is like, I was crying because I got a video from my sister, blah, blah, blah. She's like, tell me about her. They bond because remember, she also lost her grandma and that really changed the trajectory of her life. So they bond about that. And he's like, listen, I'm going to go make my coffee. Do you want some? And she's like, yeah, I'll stay in here. She like was taking her hair out of her ponytail and her ponytail holder like went somewhere. So she's like, I'm gonna go dig around behind the sofa to try and find my scrunchie. I'll take a tea if you heat the water up. Thank you so much. So they're like having a conversation. He's in the kitchen, she's in the parlor still, and they're just like shouting to each other. When there's a knock on the door and he's like, hey, could you get that, by the way? Like, I'm kind of busy here. I'm pouring the drinks. Can you go get that? And all of a sudden she doesn't answer. He like looks out the kitchen window and sees that it's Louise. And so he's like, oh, I guess I'll get it. Fine. Goes to answer the door. Louise had like, I guess Oscar sent over like a little gift basket or whatever. And she was like, oh, I forgot to give this to you, by the way. Here you go. And he's like, thanks so much. Slept really well last night. Total lie. By the way, why didn't you mention that there's somebody else staying in the home that I'm paying for? And Louise is like, pardon? Louise is like, Mr. Aldrich definitely would have told me if somebody else was staying here. And meanwhile, Tate is like, she's literally doing yoga still, probably over here. It's fine. Like, I'm okay with it. I just like, interesting that I wasn't told. And Louise is like, yeah, I don't know about that. I'll see you later though. I've got things to do. Bye. And just leaves. Tate is like, I talked to this girl for over an hour. She's definitely real. There's definitely nothing weird about the fact that she cannot leave the parlor, it seems like. And that she just disappeared. Certainly just a quirky girl in this house. So he goes back into the kitchen to finish getting his damn coffee. This has been like hours of him trying to make a cup of coffee at this point. He's gonna get his damn cup of coffee and he's going to feed his cat, Polly, who seems to like not like a lot of people. right? She's an indoor cat. She's never left his apartment basically before this trip. Doesn't really bond with people, but she seemed to really like the yoga girl. But even still, even if she warmed to this person, it was weird that she didn't come running when she heard her food going into the bowl. So he goes to check on her. Sure enough, yoga girl missing. Polly safe and sound. Don't worry. I know this is everyone's concern for the entire book. Polly's fine, but he just made tea for this girl. So he is assuming she still wants it. He's trying to find her because there's a lot of bedrooms in this house. So he goes and he starts knocking on doors. All of the doors are locked. He assumes maybe she's in the bathroom, taking a shower, whatever. So he decides to kind of get to work, but his mind keeps wandering back to her and her sparkling green eyes. But for as long as I sat at the dining room table, she never came back downstairs. With a trace of disappointment, I packed up my things and headed out to meet Oscar and his family. Spooky. Also, like, I need you to know that I'm only picturing Jake Gyllenhaal and Phoebe. We've officially reached 26%. I've got notes. Where did I leave you off? So we know that our guy Tate is down bad for this girl that he just met. When he goes to meet Oscar the next day to chat about the house, he mentions this. He's like, yeah, I'm in a good mood. I actually met someone. And this comes up because Oscar is the one who arranged the living situation. And he's like, yeah, I paid for the whole house. Like, no one is staying there, buddy. And Tate is like, I'm sure just things got lost in translation, whatever. And even Oscar is like, I actually tried to buy that house because it's like the ownership, it's all like, there's like drama going on. Anyway, I definitely paid for the whole house. And he's like, no, it's really cool. I ended up meeting this girl who lives there. She's like dreamy, great, amazing. Didn't get her name. They talked for hours. He told her everything. He told her about his childhood, about his time in the psych hospital, about his sister. Like, she knows everyone in his life. He does not know her name. It's very, like I said, very manic pixie dream girl. He's like, I felt like I'd never met someone who just talks to me like that. Like, she got me. I felt like we already knew each other, but you don't know her name. Anyway, so after his day with Oscar and Lorena, he goes home to like retype his notes and like actually start work on his plans when he sees Luis and Reese, and they're like, hey, you mentioned that there was a girl in the house and we looked into it because that really freaked us out. Turns out because of the music festival and because of, remember, it was really difficult to find housing in the area, I guess there were a bunch of like young people camping on the grounds because the grounds for this house, it's like 20 acres. So he was like, yeah, Reese was like, I found these like 8 young adults camping. They denied it, but like, we're assuming because it rained last night, they probably, like, one of the girls probably snuck into the house. Sorry about that, but yeah, no worries. Just like, let me know, like, be sure to lock the doors. Like, they're very specific about how like there's no cellar in this house, there's no back door, like there is only the front door is how you're gonna get out of this house, which the architect Tate was like, that sounds like a fire hazard. That's a little bizarre, but okay. So that night, he makes a real point to lock all the doors, even like the bedroom and the bathroom doors. He closes it, he locks all the windows, even though he's kind of like, I wish the girl would sneak in again. He goes to sleep. When he awakes at 2 a.m. because he hears a sound and he's a light sleeper, he's like, you know what? I probably didn't hear anything. He waits for a couple seconds. He's like, no. Tries to roll over. He hears the sound again. So he goes to investigate. So he creeps into the hallway and notices the bathroom door, that weird shared bathroom that he's had a nightmare about already. Why is that bathroom door cracked when he definitely closed every single door? And he's trying to write it off. He's like, no, an old house. Like, sure, I'm sure that the door just opened by itself. When he hears the distinct sound of someone crying, he's sort of like, okay, let me like call Reese, let me call the police, like let me not go in there, because the first time the stranger was like a hot woman doing yoga, but who's to say the second time someone breaks in this house, it's not someone more dangerous. So he starts to back away when he hears a gut-wrenching scream, and it's the scream of someone in pain, and he, like, instincts take over. He runs in. Yanking the door open, I was confronted with absolute darkness. But as the screams continued, my eyes adjusted to the darkness and I was able to make out a shadowy figure near the bathtub, dark hair cascading down her back. I startled at the sight and scrambled at the wall, my fingers seeking the light switch. As soon as I turned on the light, The scream stopped, like a needle being lifted from an old-fashioned vinyl record. No one was there. I would have left. That would have been me, my ticket out of there. I'm done. But he tries to convince himself. He's like, okay, maybe the screams were just a product of the pipes. Again, this whole old house theory, right? So he's like, maybe it was that. And also, remember, he's been having these weird sensory issues where he like sees things that aren't there. Now he's like, well, fuck. It has gone from being something I see to now I'm having auditory visions, you know, like, am I hearing things now? He is trying to make any kind of excuse for what it is, mainly because the answer he's thinking it is really is he's going insane. So he manages to get back to sleep somehow, and we move on. He decides to go for a run in the morning, and this is when we get one of our rare POVs from Ren. She's looking out one of the windows and she sees him getting ready to go for a run, and she can't help but notice as he's stretching the space between his fingers and his toes when he's trying to touch his toes is apparently very far. And she kind of giggles and she's like, damn, he does need yoga. Like, for so many reasons, we need to get this man into yoga. So that is so far all we know about this girl, is that she's a yoga fanatic and she's got a little crush. So she knows everything about Tate, and she was like, man, he was really like, apparently he like wept with her. This wasn't just like a talk. Like, he was sobbing, not in her arms because she mentions that she didn't touch him, but like he is weeping. She is like, wow, like, what guy would do that to someone who you first talked to? Like, oh, he shares his emotions so willingly. So at least they are like that to each other, right? Like, he is a manic pixie dream boy to her, and that's really great for him. And this is when we get a little peek into her real life, though, other than yoga and farmer's market, which I've got a bone to pick, but we'll get there. She was thinking of going into town. She's looking at like what she needs to do for the day. And she wants to go into town because she has a Barefoot Contessa cookbook waiting for her at the independent bookstore. If she goes there, she will have to pass by the shop. And she's mentioned that she has another job on top of the bed and breakfast. It is this shop that she owns. But she didn't want to go to the bookstore because that would mean passing by her shop, where invariably Nash would be, and she felt herself recoil. Had he really believed he'd get away with it? That she, a child of a thrifty, meticulous grandma, wouldn't have questioned the $50,000 loan he'd taken out using the business as collateral, or the amateurishly faked invoices that had started showing up in their books 6 months ago? Apparently, she has been schemed out of some money, or her business partner was stealing. That is kind of all we know. And apparently, like, within this week is when she kind of confronted him about it. So she doesn't want to go anywhere near the store right now until like more legal stuff is in place. So that's something we know. We also know that she's obsessed with cooking. Like, she basically stayed in this hometown because of her grandma and like taking care of her grandma, but she has dreams of going to like Le Cordon Bleu and stuff like that. Like, she wants to be a chef. But earlier in the book, she mentioned that the menu at the bed and breakfast never changes. She's like, she has such a routine that she only buys the same thing every single week for her guests. You'd think that a chef someone who's interested in cooking might like want to try new things. She seems to be like really into her like one dish that she makes. No judgment, but just interesting girl. So yeah, she loves to cook, wishes she could travel, specifically to Paris is where she wants to go. And she's got money problems, is what we know about our girl. And instead of going to a bookstore, she decides to start a puzzle. She's like, I gotta stay home. I gotta do something. Let me go into our puzzle room, pick out a puzzle. Off she trots. That's what our girl's doing today. So Tate goes out for his run, comes back, notices that Luis and Reese are out doing their individual things. She's like batting a rug and he's doing some kind of yard work, whatever. This run was not long. This was a short little run. So he has not been out of the house for very long when he comes jogging back and sees Ren in a window. So he immediately runs into the house trying to capture her again and be like, girl, how do you keep breaking into my home? She's not there. She's not in the parlor room where he saw her. But then he looks in the dining room and he notices there is like half of a 1,000-piece puzzle done on the table where he had put his backpack. Like, this is where he had been working last night. So like all of his stuff was there. And he is like, there's no way that someone did this just while I was on my run. Like, I'm assuming this run was like 5 minutes. Okay. And then he notices a girl crouched on the floor under the dining room table. And he is like, hello. To which she just pops up and is like, oh, hey, how was your run? He is finally focused, okay? He's not like blown away by her green eyes this time. And he's like, how did you get in this house? And she's like, okay, weird question. I live here? And she's like, on top of that, I'm missing a piece. Like the reason she's on the floor is she's missing a piece of the puzzle. So she's like, can you help me find it? He finds it immediately. She's like, thank you. That was very frustrating. And he's like, girl, stop changing the subject. Like, who are you? And she's like, I didn't tell you yesterday? Sorry about that. My name is Wren. Like the bird. And then she also was like, by the way, I didn't say anything yesterday because you were really upset, but like I usually don't do pets. Like you really should have asked me before, but I like Polly, so it's okay. Actually, to quote it, she says, even though you should have cleared it with me first, I'm gonna let it slide because Polly obviously likes me. Jake Gyllenhaal / Tate is like, okay, you shouldn't be here. Like, first of all, he's like, you're telling me off about my cat? Who are you? Literally, who are you? How dare you? And he's like, wait here a second. And he runs and he screams for Luis and Reese. He's like, she's here again. Get your butts in here. Like, I'm not going crazy. And of course, do you want to guess what happens? They run in empty. No puzzle, no girl, okay? They're looking at their new tenant like, who did we just let into our home? And he's like, no, she was here. Her name's Wren, and she said that she like lives here. I don't know, man. And Luis goes pale. She's like, can you what did she look like? Describe her for me. To which he describes her dark hair, beautiful green eyes, and what did he say? What was her other feature? Did she even have one? Oh, she's medium height, kind of pretty. Ouch. As I described her, Reese's face flashed with anger. He seemed to grow in size, his body practically vibrating. And he's like, why are you doing this? Like, why would you say that? And Tate's like, you asked, I described. And why is Reese mad? Because what kind of sick prank is Tate playing? Talking about seeing a girl named Wren with dark hair, green eyes, kind of pretty, when Wren Tobin, who lived here, died 2 years ago. Okay, Oscar has said some things that I didn't like in this book, but I do like that when his friend is like, I think that maybe Luis and Reese are just trying to trick me and gaslight me. And he's like, why would they hire a woman to do yoga and put a puzzle together? Why is that how they're scaring you out of their home? Okay, I just hit 32% and I have some ideas, all right, some predictions, but let me catch you up. We're worried that he's having hallucinations, right? He talks to Oscar about it. Oscar is like, yeah, listen, man, like if you need help, I will help you contact someone, but like, what if it's ghosts? Oscar is very much just like a what if kind of guy. Tate Googles, now that he has her first and last name, Googles her and the town name, and sure enough, there's a picture. It is her. And he's like, there's no way this is a hallucination because I can't just like make up a real person. Like this picture is exactly who I saw. There's no way that my mind could have made her up. So he decides to start setting traps to like prove that it's a real ghost. He like tapes the windows shut and like all this stuff. And sure enough, the next night he's woken up, but this time he's prepared. Whips out his phone and his flashlight. He starts recording immediately. He goes out into the hallway and he sees that all the doors are still closed. So he's kind of like, oh, thank God, must have just been the wind. When the bathroom door, as he's looking at it, as he's recording, snaps open, fully just wide open. He goes in and not only are the faucets on, but Wren is in the bathtub. She's kneeling in the bathtub as the water is filling up. She's got a towel. And Tate can just hear her whispering like, help me, over and over and over again. Until all of a sudden, she's kneeling, like facing away from the bathroom faucet. And she just like does a back bend and slaps her head against the faucet, like cracking her skull. And she does this over and over and over again. That mental image is so freaky. Tate obviously runs to help her, turns on the light. She's gone. Okay. When he goes back to check the video, of course, yes, the door opens. Yes, the faucet is running, but she isn't on camera. Neither is her voice or any of the other sounds that she made. And you can just hear Tate like screaming. So shows this to Oscar. Oscar is like, oh yeah, that's a ghost. You got a ghost on your hands. What are we gonna do about it? He is like, buddy, if it were me, I'd be leaving this house. And I'm like, yes, Oscar. Correct, Oscar. But Tate has a crush on this ghost girl, so he's not going anywhere. He wants to figure out how to help her. He's like, this is probably what Sylvia needs. Also, she keeps leaving out poetry. She's got like a mini library in her bed and breakfast. She keeps leaving him books. And like he like reads the poem and he's like, oh, how did she know exactly the poem to ease my grief? The manic pixiness of it all. It's a lot. But anyway, Oscar comes to look. He investigates. He's like, yep, yeah, there were like no trick wires, definitely a ghost on your hands. Like, let's figure out what to do. He leaves because he's got a life, right? Tate, okay, decides that he's going to search online for Wren's obituary. He had just like looked her up, seen a photo and been like, oh shit, and like closed out of it. Now he's going to actually read about her life and how she died. In most of the obituaries, it said that like cause of death not listed, right? But he finally finds, and this is what Oscar said when he went to the house, okay? He discovers that Wren Tobin, age 29, had slipped and fallen in the hallway bathroom 2 years ago, drowning in the tub. Now that you're caught up, these are my hunches, okay? So there's nighttime Wren and daytime Wren. Nighttime Wren is just dying over and over again. Daytime Wren is like the normal good Wren. Because remember, Sylvia said that these ghosts that are trapped, if they stay too long, their like goodness, their humanity goes away. And it's just left with like this negative energy haunting the house. So he needs to save her before the good daytime Wren disappears, okay? But they're trying to figure out how to like communicate with her in a more regular way instead of just like waiting for her to pop up, right? So they decide, boys, okay, Oscar and Tate are like, we're gonna go to a toy store and we're gonna like find a game that we can play together because that makes sense. So they go into this store, they end up buying, I think they buy like charades or something. They were like, we don't want something that's a board game. We don't want something that's like tangible, okay? So couldn't they have just like done charades by themselves? Why did they have to buy it? Anyway, they've got trust funds. They don't care. They don't like the dude. Well, Tate immediately doesn't like the dude who runs the toy store. He was like, this guy is talking about these card games as if he's a car salesman. I don't like him. He's a little too overconfident. All right. We don't love this guy. What was it called actually? Hold on. Yeah, I called it. The store is called Birds, Toys, and Games. And you obviously, the man that Tate doesn't like is Nash. Nash obviously took over the toy store, stole it from Wren because Wren has introduced herself, or Tate has introduced Wren. Whenever they say her name, they say Wren, like the bird. Wren, like the bird. Birds, Toys, and Games. Nicholas Sparks. Come on. This is honestly like, I don't know if it's just his writing style or if it's because I know that this was adapted from an original screenplay. This just reads like he was reading a screenplay and just kind of literally just wrote it into novel form, which I guess is what he said he did. But it's sort of like, I feel like anyone could have written this if they were given the bones of the story already. So I don't know, man. But I'm interested to see what happens. How is Nicholas Sparks going to rip my heart out in this one? Knowing what he has done. I've actually only watched The Notebook once, and I think it was like I was walking in and out of a room. So, but A Walk to Remember as a preteen, screwed me up. So my heart is still open. I don't like the writing style, but I'm prepared for this story to take me on a ride. Okay? In we go. We know that Wren is dead. We're going to play charades. We're going to be friends. We're going to set her free. And we're going to allegedly be building a summer home all at the same time. Another night, another vision of Wren in the bathtub. This time he tries to talk to her. She freaks out. She's like, get the fuck out, get the fuck out. Then she arches back as if someone pulled her hair from behind. Called it. Oh, and obviously Nash killed her. I don't know if I said that. Nash killed her. Slipped and fell. Girl. Okay, she requested another game. They already played charades. They had a cute little night that is probably going to take up like a 10-second montage in the film. But anyway, also just two people playing charades, but whatever. So he goes back to the toy store and she was like, oh, you'll know what game when you see it. Like just, it'll come to you what game we're supposed to play. So he feels a little tingle and he sees Boggle. He feels called towards Boggle. So he goes to buy it and sure enough, person who's probably fucking Nash is like, oh, that's so funny. My former partner is really passionate about Boggle. And yep, she passed away. Such a tragedy. In a voice too pious for my liking. Oh, he killed her. Okay, so now I think Tate is just gonna become like a ghostbuster. First of all, he is like deep into the interwebs, like checking how people free spirits. But anyway, he meets up with Oscar again. Again, he's like trying to build this freaking summer home. They see this guy outside, like in the restaurant parking lot with a fishing rod and a feather. He's a weird dude, okay? He's checking when the rain is starting. He's like, you gotta listen to the feather. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. What matters is that he has a dog in his truck, and that dog is freaking out. It's like this elderly golden retriever. The dog's name is Bingo. So the old man is like, he didn't used to be my dog. He was Henry's dog. Henry is some like alcoholic dude who fell in this parking lot with his bottle of Jack Daniels, smashed the bottle, cut an artery, bled out, dead in the parking lot. Bingo was like in the car watching his owner die, like freaking out. And so this old man adopted Bingo. He said that the news, the like local news, tried to play it up as like, Bingo, he keeps coming back. Like no matter how much this old man tries to like keep Bingo safe inside, Bingo will get out and he will always come back and he'll just sit here all day in the parking lot. And he's like, yeah, they tried to make it this cute story of like, you know, those dogs that wait for his owner to come back from like the train, like in Japan. He's like, that's not true. Like, look at him. This isn't a cute story. Like Bingo is anxious. He's freaking out. He's not in a happy place. This is a dog that is clearly bothered by something. You better believe the evil ghost of Henry is walking around here at night and Tate's gonna go save him. That's what we've learned. Basically, we have like more cute dates. Like they played charades. Now they're playing Boggle or whatever it's called. And we get another vision of her, like her night self. Oh, she also drops this weird piece of lore. We have another suspect. So I'm thinking Nash is just like shitty dude because he stole all of this money from her. But he has a really nice wife and children. And that's why Ren hesitated to go to the police about this, because technically it wasn't illegal what he did. Like he was well within his rights to take out that loan because they were business partners. It was more of the fact that just like he didn't communicate that with her and etc. So she didn't go to the police about it. I'm still thinking Nash is number one on my shit list. However, she drops this knowledge bomb that she's married, trying to get divorced, but like yada 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 paperwork. And she compared it to musical chairs. She's like, I shouldn't have married him, but I saw everyone else getting married and I saw all of the like eligible bachelors getting taken. And so she just like married Griffin. His name is Griffin. She regrets it. He's not in the picture. Also, neither is her father. Her mom passed away when she was a kid. Her dad, nobody knows. So I feel like that's also something we should keep in mind. So we've got like these weird little snippets, but we've got bad men in her life. Lots of them. That's where we are now. I just had to stop and fill you in on the story of Bingo because it was a lot. Off I go. I'm at 46% now. We're almost halfway through. It's just very cheesy. Like, I know that that's kind of Nicholas Sparks' style, but like, this isn't how people speak to each other. Like, Oscar and Tate have been best friends since high school, and they're still like speaking to each other as if they don't know basic facts about each other's lives. Like, if my best friend's sister died a year ago, I wouldn't be like, well, when Sylvia died a year ago, like, when Sylvia died, we don't need to, I don't know. There are just like little details that I'm just like, you guys know this. You should know this. His kind of like world building and lore dropping, he's doing it through dialogue, but he's using characters that like should not be talking to each other the way that there's. Anyway, we continue. Okay, they have now moved on from playing Boggle to playing some kind of no touching game. He is 38 years old and she's like, I think she's straight up 30. Anyway, she's basically like, first she makes him stop talking. So they just stare at each other for a minute because she's like, that's what my friends and I do before we can kiss a boy. We have to stare at them for a minute to see if they're really like mature. So they do that. He passes. And then they play this game where like you get as close as possible without touching. So they have like this weird, like he's touching her, but not touching her moment. And then he kisses her. He loses the game. He kisses her and immediately there's like a lightning crack and she is gone, disappears. the lights, the power goes out. The power goes out not only in the main house, but in the other cottages where Reese and Louise live. Can't do that anymore. But she has another one of those nighttime terrors, and it is clear, she says she was murdered, but she doesn't know by who. And we met Nash, we know who he is. We've now met Griffin, because Griffin, he's like the sponsor of the music festival that's going on, and he had like wanted Oscar to get in on it, so Oscar knows him. So we meet Griffin. Griffin's a pain in the ass. He is maybe suspect number one, because first of all, he was like an alcoholic, on drugs, never hit her, I don't think, but like was violent around her and made her feel very unsafe. She started talking to Dax about this. He was like a mutual friend and I think a substance abuse counselor. So she was talking to him specifically about Griffin's problems. Somehow Dax, even though he's married to Tessa, I swear to God, if Tessa is the actual murderer, I'm gonna be really pissed at these two men, these authors. His wife, Tessa, they were also having problems. So Dax, like in the midst of sharing all of these marital problems with Ren, falls in love with Ren and tries to get her to run off with him. So that's why Dax and Tessa hate Ren. Okay. And apparently she already had a history with Tessa, whatever that means. Okay. So there's that whole thing. Griffin, apparently the reason why the divorce wasn't going through is because he wanted something about the trust that her grandma had. It like expires in 3 years. And so it like then immediately turns over to Ren. So he didn't want to get divorced before that happened, because if she was holding the trust because they didn't get a prenup or whatever, while they're still married, he would be able to claim half of that trust. So he wanted to stay in the marriage just to like get her money and stuff, you know? I think that's it. 60%. Oh God, hold on. Now we're supposed to think that maybe Ren is kind of a villain, because Louise, who is very close with the grandma, is basically like, listen, she was really spoiled. The grandma was so excited for her to go to college and like hopefully sort herself out, but Ren wouldn't leave. And Louise tells the story in the way that Ren didn't leave for college because she had everything she wanted right here. The grandma paid all of her bills, paid for her cell phone, bought her whatever she wanted, blah, blah, blah. And she seemed to just like have a lot of drama. She was the kind of girl that like had a different friend every year kind of thing. Also, this is like a bold thing to say. The grandma died of COVID very early on in the pandemic. She said, "It's probably not what you want to hear, but part of me thinks the reason Joyce got so sick with COVID was because of the stress that Ren was causing her." Like, damn. Also, she's kind of alluding to the fact that so apparently Dax was so in love with her that he like showed up outside of her house, wouldn't leave her alone. So the way that Ren tells it, it sounds like harassment. The way that Louise tells it is that maybe Dax was trying to help her. Like maybe she was the one with the substance abuse problem. So who do we believe? Who do we believe? Or is Louise guilty? Okay, 72% update. I know I look crazy. I'm trying to solve a murder. The boys are also trying to solve a murder. And what do? So Oscar and Tate, the dynamic duo, they decide to just go around the city aggravating all of the possible suspects. So Oscar donates a shit ton of money to the police department to get somebody to talk, to gain access. Okay, he buys everybody new bulletproof vests. Now he can ask the questions he wants to ask. Turns out they think that it's a pretty closed case. Okay, based on, she was in the water, there was water in her lungs, she obviously drowned, blah, 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 there was no DNA, whatever. But Oscar asks like one question. He's like, but when you get in the bathtub, you're usually facing the faucet, right? I assume some bathtubs have a different design. This is what their logic is, okay? He's like, she hit the back of her head. Why was she? But like, if they think she's drunk enough to fall in the bathtub, why couldn't you also think she's being weird and getting in the bathtub funny? It's not holding up in court for me, but that's okay. The police officer kind of like stutters and he's like, And then also he mentioned something weird about the towels were folded. Like, I don't know, the police officer made it seem like even though the case is closed, there are just like a few inconsistencies. So it could be still a murder. So they go to the toy store. They start shit talking Nash. They're like, bet your wife doesn't want to know about all of your money troubles. And he just got a new business partner. So they're like, we're going to tell him, blah, blah, blah. Nash crashes out. They leave. They're like, good job, buddy. All right. On to the next one. Then they make some kind of appointment with Dax, who is again a substance abuse counselor at the local hospital. So they make an appointment being like, Oscar is going to donate a bunch of money to the hospital. They get there and they start asking him all these questions. And just before that, Tate found a storage shed full of Ren's things. But also in there was a letter written by Dax being like, listen, I'm sorry that I showed up at your house, but like we're meant to be together. Like very creepy language. Okay. I'm going to circle back to that. Anyway, they go see Dax. They ask, did you murder her? And they threaten him with the letter, because it's handwritten. So they're like, we're gonna photocopy this and send this to your wife and like all this stuff. So now Dax is freaking out. They haven't officially talked to Griffin yet, but I'm sure that will come. Also, this is so random, but like the concept of the music festival that Griffin runs is literally just The Masked Singer. All of the bands wear masks because the point is the music, not who it is, Now they're thinking like, oh, she said she didn't know who killed her. Maybe he was wearing a mask. But also, circling back to the storage shed, remember when I said that Louise, even though she told the story of like, listen, Ren was kind of a problem child, stressing grandma out, it said that she said it was an accident as like a plea, which could either mean she really hopes that it was an accident just so that like her niece wasn't murdered. But on the other hand, could she be guilty? And why did she hide certain things like the letter? Why was that letter? Obviously, Ren didn't pack up her shit, including that letter, and put it in the storage unit. Like that storage shed was made after Ren died. So there's that. The final corny cherry on top. It's a Nicholas Sparks book, guys. We get the third and final message from his sister, Sylvia, who I believe is called Sydney in the book. So by the time that I've edited this, things that current me doesn't know. Because I didn't know this when I started filming it. Now I was looking up like who plays Oscar, like who are the actors for this? Oscar is not Indian, the movie. There's no character named Lorena. So Oscar's wife, I think, is named Teresa. And then there's no Sylvia character. I believe her name is Sydney. Just putting all of that out there. Anyway, so Sylvia gives us her last message. If I didn't mention her second message was basically just like, oh, she told the story about how Mike dated her like first, second, and third date. And like basically to be loved is to be known. And love is about the mundane, simple things. Okay? Cool. Her third and final message is about the fact that Mike proposed to her 3 times before she said yes. She kept saying no because she didn't want Mike to have to go through losing a wife. She knew she was terminally ill. She didn't want to, burden him with that. And he said, and this has been underlined 1,000,000 times according to Kindle, and if this is not the thesis statement for this book, I'd rather be married to you for a single day than live 100 lifetimes without you. She ends it by saying, I love you fiercely, little brother. Someday, like all of us, you'll face your own end. And more than anything, I hope that you will look back, as I am now, on a life made worthy by the only thing that matters. Take care of yourself and believe me when I tell you that I'm going to be watching over you from the other side. She ended the video by blowing me a kiss. I watched it over and over, missing Sylvia more with every viewing. It also left me with an unexpected feeling. Don't. He's basically saying like, oh, now I know how Mike feels. Because Mike lost his wife to a terminal illness, the wife that he was with for years on end. Meanwhile, this man has been here like a week and he's like, damn, I too am probably going to lose my girlfriend that isn't even my girlfriend. I understand Mike's, fuck you, Tate. Anyway, we continue. I actually have a meeting in 15 minutes, so I gotta go, but we're gonna finish this right afterwards. I've got less than 100 pages. We're gonna find out who did it. Do I think it's Louise? If it's any woman, if it's Tessa, if it's Louise, Nicholas Sparks, and M. Night Shyamalan, on my shit list. Mark my words. I don't think they'd do that though. But then Louise and Reese would lose their home too if they lose the trust fund. Oh, fuck, it is Louise, isn't it? Because Ren was kind of thinking about selling the bed and breakfast, moving, like going to Paris, like making her dreams come true. And if that is true, then Reese and Luis would be kicked out of their home. Damn it, if it is, I'm gonna be pissed. So Tessa, like I said, they're like riling everybody up, okay? So they just went to go talk to Griffin. Now they're driving home in Oscar's Escalade. They're being followed. And he finally pulls over because Oscar has the best streetwise instincts of the two of them. This woman gets out and she says, "I'm Tessa. My husband told me you're trying to dredge up the past." So this is Dax's wife, remember? We also learn that Tessa and Ren's beef extends before Dax. Apparently Ren's high school sweetheart, the one that she just like couldn't get over, he like moved away, all of the coulda, woulda, shouldas. Apparently he was dating Tessa first and he said it wasn't serious, but Tessa was very in love. So then when Ren started dating Brian, it got ugly. And so then when Dax also falls in love with Ren, Tessa is like extra pissed, okay? Tate tries to be like, yeah, we're looking into Ren's death, and she interrupts. She's like, why? She put her hands on her hips. It was an accident. It wasn't, I said. Yeah? Well, even if she was killed by someone, she deserved it. The world's a better place without her. Tessa smirks and she says, you know what she did, right? And he's like, yeah, she confided in your husband about like Griffin's bad behavior, whatever. She gave a bitter laugh. Is that what you're claiming she told you? Dax told me about your little meeting, but unlike my husband, I think you're lying about knowing Ren. Ren never mentioned you to Dax, and she would have. It would have been a whole part of her woe is me web of lies that she's been weaving ever since she was a little girl. And trust me, I should know, because Ren and I used to be friends. Tate is like, ma'am, we're just trying to figure out what happened. And she said, what happened was Ren made a pass at my husband. She called him sobbing and she went to her house. But of course, when he got there, she'd been drinking and was all over him, claiming that he was the only man who really cared for her. Then she kissed him. He pushed her away because he didn't want to take advantage of her and because he loves me. But the rejection pissed her off. So next time he went over, she called the police and made up a sick story. She says, obviously you don't know anything about Ren, because if you did, you'd know this wasn't the first time she went after someone who was already in a relationship. There's a reason why people around here didn't like her. What? So we just learned very recently, I didn't share this with you, but we learned that Griffin was cheating on Ren with a woman named Sandra. And he'd been with Sandra before, during, and after his relationship with Ren. But it turns out, according to Tessa, so like, who knows? It's a she said situation. Tessa says that Sandra and Griffin were engaged. And then Ren set her sights on Griffin. And then they got engaged. Okay? Then she starts listing all of the other people, all the other women she could have spoken to other than Dax. She was like, Renee is a counselor, Leslie is a psychologist, Ethel, but she went after Dax because she only likes men in relationships. She ends her monologue with, if you were really a friend of Ren's, you would know she was a sociopath. And then she just gets back in her car. What?
What? Wait, let me reread that. What?
So it's the day of the festival. I believe it's the day that, it's the anniversary of her death, whatever, okay? And she's getting more and more translucent. We know that she is slipping away, okay? They play another game. They play two truths and a lie. They get wasted. She's like, hey, come with me, I want to show you something. They go into his bedroom and they play the no touching game again, but instead it's like they're just silently stripping in front of each other. They just like stand naked facing each other. He did say, I love you. And then she says, come with me. And then she whispers, I love you too, after they strip and just stare at each other naked for a while. Tate suddenly understood everything that Sylvia had ever wanted for me, just as I knew I'd been waiting for Ren all along. Once again, this has been like a couple weeks. They've literally just
Never mind. They ended up lying in the bed, sometimes exchanging heated whispers and gasps of pleasure, but other times saying nothing. I marveled at the depth of my feelings for her, wishing fervently for the afternoon to stretch on forever, but inevitably the sun dips towards the horizon. Just before she's about to disappear, just before the sun sets, he finally is just like, tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to know. And she's like, what are you talking about, bud? Because she doesn't know that she's dead. She's like, it's so weird. Where are the guests in my bed and breakfast? Like, I keep forgetting where I'm going, what I'm doing. Okay, so Tate is like, I need to know how to help you. She smiled. All you need to do is come back to me. I just opened my mouth to press for more when she vanished completely. Okay. Apparently Polly is upset. She's not eating, she's not drinking, okay? Something is wrong here. The power went out. He's looking for his phone and it's not charged. So he's like, damn it, the power went out. He's trying to reset the breaker, but he doesn't know how to do shit. Okay, he just learned how to do laundry for the first time in his 38 old years of life. Polly makes a funny sound, not her normal meow. Tate is like, Polly, I can't do this right now. Daddy's trying to YouTube how to fix a breaker, okay? Which, to be completely fair, I also don't know how to do. Okay, so he's down in the cellar trying to figure this shit out. I hear Polly snarl. In the same instant, I hear footsteps behind me. I didn't have time to turn before I felt a hard shove at my back, and all at once I was falling. I hit the stairs below hard and felt momentum flip me over. I came to a stop on the cellar floor, reeling in darkness. As if from a distance, I heard someone groaning, only to realize the sound was my own before I lost consciousness. I weirdly, unfortunately, still think it's Reese. And that also fucking sucks if it's Reese, because he has this whole background of like his dad was like in and out of jail and grandma hired him as a groundskeeper because like the sins of your father shouldn't be transmitted to the son. So like Reese deserves a chance at a good life. If it's calm down, girl. Calm down. Okay, he blacked out for a few seconds. He wakes up. Oh, someone's still hitting him. The figure flees up the staircase and he can't chase them because he's injured. So he eventually drags himself up to the kitchen, but he lost his phone in the cellar, so he can't call the police. So he decides to walk over to the cottage and knock on the door and find Louise. She immediately is like, holy shit, you're bleeding. Are you okay? I need to borrow your phone, I rasped. And she says, we just got back. What happened to you? Suspicious. Why are you saying that you just got back? We don't need to know where you've been. We don't need an alibi, Louise. Just give us the phone. Why are you offering that? Okay? Reese is like, who is it? Louise? And she's like, do you really need to call the police? Couldn't Reese help you? But he manages to call Oscar. He doesn't call the police. He calls Oscar because Oscar runs this town now. And I'll update you. I have 40 pages left. So, okay, I'm recording my reaction just in case. So he went all over town trying to see who was bloody or injured. He found Griffin. Griffin was at work working the festival. So was Nash. So he's like, Dax and Tessa, that's who it's gotta be. But he remembered Ren said, in order to help her, all you need is to come back to me. So he decides to get in the bathroom early so that he can see the whole scene unfold. Okay? He sees the person grab her. The killer stood panting over Ren's body. She lay half in the tub, her legs splayed awkwardly on the floor, her body bent at an unnatural angle. I blinked and saw now there were two figures standing over the tub. Trembling, I raised the candles higher, straining to make... I'm gonna read. I always do this. I always read a little bit too far ahead. And he doesn't have any of the lights on, so he's using candlelight, by the way. So, raises the candles higher, straining to make sure I wasn't mistaken. But the two distinct figures remained in place. They each took a seat at the lip of the tub, and I watched as the first, larger figure bent over, using both hands to push Ren's body beneath the water. The second figure joined in, both holding fast for what felt like an agonizing eternity. Then the smaller figure reached into the tub with both hands this time. I bet she's stealing the locket. It's Louise and Reese. I know it. This person seemed to be fiddling with something, and then all at once, the figures were gone. Okay, yes. So he realizes what he saw the second figure doing was taking the locket. I already told you that, Nicholas. I froze, my breath strangled, as if I'd been punched in the stomach. She'd been wearing the locket when she was attacked. Focusing on her unmoving shape, I confirmed what I already knew. The chain and locket were gone. My arm is tired from covering, but I will absolutely spoil this for myself. I recalled where I had seen it before, Not on Ren, but on someone else. In shock, I pushed the bathroom door up. Wouldn't it be hilarious if it was Oscar and Lorena because they wanted to buy that house? Wait. He goes towards the stairs, but just as I reach them, I hear the scuff of footsteps. Behind me, he sees a familiar face and he says, "You." But he gets hit in the face by something that sends him spiraling down the stairs once again. Why can't I speak? We have a Ren POV where she's like, what the hell is going on? Why can she's thinking about like, why can I remember everything that Tate and I do together, but I can't remember like anything. I thought I went to the festival, but I don't think I did. I think now she is realizing that she's dead. Okay. She realizes that Tate, sweet Tate, knows that she's dead. And instead of having a he lied to me kind of reaction, she was like, yeah, you know what? Pretty nice of him not to tell me that. I probably wouldn't have taken that very well. Now she's noticing the house is on fire. And she knows that Tate is in the house, but she doesn't know where because his car is still there. You know who's in the kitchen? Starting that fire? Spreading that fire? Uncle Reese. He's pouring out all the cognac, all the alcohol, and setting it on fire. She's yelling at him. He obviously cannot see her or hear her. And remember, Tate was just knocked unconscious. He's somewhere going to die in this house. Reese runs out. Oscar runs in. Somehow she like wishes hard enough and he sees her. Oscar sees her in the window being like, Tate is in here. So he tries to get in the house, but the doors lock automatically in this house. So he doesn't have a key. He can't get in. He gets in the SUV, takes out the car seats. What? Louise comes out of the cottage, gets in Reese's truck, and tries to slam her truck into Oscar's truck. Her expression deranged as she floored the accelerator. The truck smashed into Oscar with a sickening thud, but somehow he gets up and starts running. But then the truck just hits him again, sending his body flying like a broken toy. Then she finally is like, I love you, Tate, and if you love me, you have to wake up. Nothing happened. But on the verge of despair, she let out a broken sob, and like a miracle, Tate began to cough, his eyes finally fluttering open. She's like, hey, the house is on fire. You have to get out. Oscar has been hit by a truck. Luis hit him twice. You've got to leave now. And then someone just screams from behind him, why don't you just die? The blazing light made Reese look demonic. In his hand, he held a crowbar, and I felt a surge of dread and fear. He advanced towards me. Then the house explodes. Oh, I think Reese kind of exploded. I think Reese got like hit with something in that explosion, and now he is just, his head is an almost unrecognizable pulp of blood and brain matter. So I think he's dead. Oscar is alive. Louise sees that her husband exploded, so she wails, and then she grabs his crowbar, runs after Tate. Luckily, the police officers get there in time to be like, lady, drop the crowbar. And she says, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. She sank to her knees. Final chapter. Last night, I dreamed of Ren. Okay, so then he has a dream about Ren. And they're like having a conversation. She's like, why are we dreaming about my small town? You could have taken me literally anywhere, Tate. Why am I still here? And he's like, oh, I didn't realize I could do that. And so he like shifts them and they go all these different places. Okay, they're dancing. He has been in the hospital since Friday. What day is it today? I don't know. Oscar is okay. Okay, he broke his arm. He has a concussion, and he got let out yesterday. Polly is fine. Okay, nobody fucking checked on Polly. How is Polly okay? She dashed out into the woods and jumped straight into the SUV. Okay, Polly saved herself. What? And the reason why Oscar arrived when he did is because he was looking for Dax and Tessa, because those were the last two people on their suspect list they hadn't checked on, right? They checked with Griffin and Nash. They had alibis. So he came to the house to be like, what the fuck is happening? Apparently Louise, so Reese is dead. Louise is in jail. And Oscar's like, yeah, her bail, astronomical figure, man. It's not looking good for her. And Tate is like, because she stole Ren's locket. And Oscar's like, because she ran me over with her car? Like, fuck you, Tate. Yeah, attempted murder. So, but they don't think they have enough evidence to charge her with Ren's murder. So that's interesting. And sure enough, it just comes down to inheritance. If grandma dies, it goes to Ren. If Ren dies, it goes to the secondary beneficiaries, which would be Reese. Griffin's not going to get any of the fucking money. So that's fine. And then he did see Ren. Oscar did see Ren. He was like, whoa, gotta be honest with you, man. Love ya, but I was kind of still on the fence about this whole ghost thing. He saw her. So that's cool. And Oscar's like, and hey, man, maybe you'll see her again someday. And swear to God, there's an epilogue in this, so I don't fucking know. What the fuck? He's standing in front of the house, and he says, I'm here, Ren. I waited, but there was nothing. I took a step towards a nearby lump of concrete when I heard her voice. Hello, Tate, she said behind me. Oh, God. She says, I can't stay. Tate says, but I love you. And she says, I love you too, And Tate is like, what is there left for me without you? Babe, love bombing. But anyway, she says, everything. It's all waiting for you, Tate. I want you to live well and love deeply. Look for reasons to be grateful. Treasure your friends. Embark on wonderful adventures. Honor the gifts you've been given. He says, I want to do those things with you. She said, if you really love me, you'll do them anyway. Sister and girlfriend that was never really a girlfriend. I don't really know what the situation is. They're afterlife besties, apparently. She's like, you made her sound delicate, but she's a force of nature. And she watches over you just like I will. How long can she stay? Not long. It's almost time. So he wants to ask one last question. So she says, shoot. Why me? Was it because of Sylvia? Because she gave me her gift? Sylvia might have opened the door, but in the end, it could have only been you. I don't understand, Tate said. Yes, she said. You do. And it was through love, falling in love, that truly freed and saved the both of them. Because he was a man lost, locked in a cage of his own making, a prisoner of his past, and so was she. And so together, love conquers all, and she disappears.
She taught me everything about life, hope. I'll always miss her. But her love is like the wind. I can't see it, but I can feel it.
I'll always remember.
Now we have our epilogue. Ugh, geez, Louise. 8 months later. How long is this epilogue? He still has that goddamn view of Central Park from his apartment. It's snowing. It's gorgeous. Okay? They finally finished the damn house. Polly, she's okay. She's fine. She's recovered. His knee also recovered. The storage shed didn't burn down, so he got all of Ren's shit. And he is not going to fall into a depression like he did with Sylvia. He is going to take care of himself. He still grieves, but he is meeting Mike, Sylvia's husband. They go for dinner once a month. Work has kept him centered. Now he's doing some renovations, some designs for some rich people in Connecticut. He started yoga. He's taking cooking classes, okay? But he still doesn't do the laundry. Draws the line there. He tried therapy, wasn't into it, and now he's weaning himself off his antidepressants. So, okay. He went on a few dates. But in October, he met a woman, and she's a cardiac surgeon. She's pretty. Not kind of pretty. Pretty, okay? They played Two Truths and a Lie. I wouldn't say I'm in love with her, but we have fun. What the fuck, Tate? But he realized that he wants his life to be filled with love. I still miss her. I'll always cherish her. Love is where it's at, okay? Then he realizes, yes, I'm going to go be a ghostbuster because he's been watching this same ghost in Central Park for a while. So he runs down out of his apartment complex when the doorman is like, the sidewalks are icy. Be careful out there. I nod thinking, if only you knew. The sidewalks are icy? Be careful out there? If only you knew. I'm not sure I like that last line, Nicholas Sparks. Also, he wrote the dates in which this project took. So it was October 12th, 2024 until January 29th, 2025. I just don't think I need to know. It doesn't matter to me how long it takes you to write this book, sir, but okay. Anyway, that's that. I called it relatively early, I would say. I don't like that. I mean, we knew it was all going to come down to money, but I just didn't feel like she didn't feel that interesting to me. She was like, respectfully, Ren was just a girl. Like, she didn't do anything in that time period, I thought. Like, you played charades, Boggle, Two Truths and a Lie, and you're in love. And half the time you're like lying to her. You're like talking to a dementia patient, essentially. Like, oh, it's okay, grandma. Like, you must not have heard me come in, or like, but I don't know about that, guys. I don't know about that. But there it is. Did you guys guess it? How do you feel? I don't like that Reese, yeah, you know, Oh, well, I feel like it could be interesting as a movie. I feel like a lot of those really boring scenes could have just been montages. I feel like it would have been better if I understand why she couldn't leave the house, but like I would have been more interested if she could show up in a few other places, but like I get that couldn't work. But that's Remain. I wonder how much, again, there's like name changes and things like that. I wonder how much will change in the screenplay. Like, how much did Nicholas change? I also wonder, like, while they're filming, do things change? Do we realize that certain scenes aren't working and we should make some changes? So yeah, I'll still be interested in the film. I don't think I'll like the film, but I'll just be interested in the film. So that's that. That is Remain. M. Night. Let's look at some reviews. Hold on. I'm so interested in what some people are saying. Hold on. Pretty solid ratings. What are people saying? I want to read like the 3 stars. Yeah. Flat. A bit of eye rolling. Interesting idea. Not a fan of the execution. Not original. Nothing new. Oh, this was your first Nicholas Sparks book, Dennis. And we have a very similar take. Anyway, yeah. No depth. Nothing going on. So that's my take. Let me know your thoughts. I'm happy to have read that with you. And I will see you guys next time. It is 9:30. I officially read for about, let's say 10 hours. Over the course of 10 hours, I did, in fact, have other work to do. But yeah, I don't really think it would have held my attention if I were reading this like on an airplane or a train or something like that. This wasn't thrilling enough, certainly. So yeah. If you want something thrilling, go look up the Village plagiarism scandal, because that's super interesting and I might read that book. But anyway, that's something for another time. I will catch you later. I've got to go to sleep. I'm drinking chamomile, wiping me out. Got to wash my face. And I will see you guys next time. Hi, I'm still here. It's a new day. And as I'm editing this and as I'm thinking about this movie again, I'm just so sick of how man-centric these stories are. As I was editing this, I couldn't help but realize how similar the ending of this book is to the ending of A Walk to Remember. And all of these movies are essentially just about how these women make a man's life so much better and then they die. Like even The Notebook, A Walk to Remember, this book, they're just all like, why do the women all have to die? I was getting really annoyed by this. So yeah, I don't like this. I don't think it was well thought out at all. And things that like could have been discussed were not. Like the only reason that Tate and Oscar were able to investigate this was because they have an unlimited amount of money and time because of their money. And the reason that Ren was killed was because of money, but her like lack of, or like the scarcity of money. And like, they never really talked about that. She just kind of was like, wow, you're spoiled. I can't imagine. I've never been to New York City. How nice that must have been. This was a book written by 2 rich men and it could have gone a lot more problematic, but you know, yeah, I don't know. I'm annoyed. Truly manic pixie dream girl, Ren, and like they never discussed like, was Ren a homewrecker? Like, does it matter? But like, was she a person out stealing people's boyfriends? And like, was she spoiled? Was she like not a good business partner? Like, I don't know. We know so little about Ren, and it doesn't seem like that matters because, you know, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to walk away from this story with. All it gave me was, ugh, you know? So anyway, now I'm ending the video. I'm not going to come back. Even if I have more things to say, I'll leave it in the comments. Thank you for joining me on this ride. And once again, thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this. Link in the description box, squarespace.com/caricanread. You can get 10% off your first website or domain. They will not let you down. But, ooh, this story, man. Anyway, I will talk to you next time. Let me know if there's any books that you'd like me to read so that you don't have to. I love doing these. So yeah, drop them down below and I will try my best to get to them. But for now, I will see you next time. That was Remain by Nicholas Sparks and M. Night Shyamalan.